Okay, so I've started recording. We're having a little Fruitfest gathering. We've got a number of people here coming to the festival, and we'll be talking to a few people. We're going to do the draw for the competition today as well, very soon. But if anyone has questions and so on, feel free to ask below in the chat, or we can maybe have some discussion. And just to alert you all as well, if anyone is looking to sign up for the festival today, prices will rise at the end of today, so you can register or send me a message or something to figure that out. But Jane, you're going to leave us soon today, but you've been to almost every festival as well. Do you want to tell us some of your experiences or your feedback, or what does it mean to you, and so on and so forth? And then maybe you can tell us what you're going to contribute this year.
Okay, I've got 5 minutes. Yeah, I've come for 6 years. The only year I missed was because I went to Woodstock and it seemed a bit too much to do both. And I regretted it almost straight away, really, because it's my favourite week of the year. What do I get out of it? I get... the best thing is the friendship. It's this immediate, it's like you've walked into somewhere and there's this huge blanket around the whole place. And it's only really when you leave the week that you realise how big that blanket is, because suddenly it's like you're not with like-minded people anymore. You've got to go back to this real life where people gossip and generally aren't grateful for things. Anyway, that's beside the point. But the festival is great. It's relaxed. The fruit is lovely. The people are lovely. You learn a lot. And I've been going for 6 years and I still learn every time I go. There's something that I pick up. And I just love seeing all my friends. I can't speak highly enough of it. It's fantastic. I did my first talk on EFT last year, and that's emotional freedom technique and how it transformed my life. And I've since become a practitioner and I've helped a lot of people, and hopefully will carry on doing so. And I've qualified as a yoga teacher, but I don't think I'll be doing any of that at the festival. But I'll be doing maybe EFT workshops, maybe one-to-ones, maybe group. I haven't discussed it with Ronnie yet, but and hopefully another talk. So I really look forward to seeing everybody. And that's it.
Excellent, Jane. Looking forward to seeing you as well.
Yeah, me too.
Is there any people at the festival you're looking forward to see again?
Roger.
And me to you, Jane. Thank you. Oh, it'll be great. We'll have a lovely time.
And Elaine, your mum. Not your mum, Roger.
Yeah, my mum's a big part of the festival.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to helping her as well. I always offer her help. And she says, no, I'm fine. But yeah, if I can help her out, that would be great. So.
Excellent. Well, good. And what are you doing today? You're away?
Yeah, the orchestra's got a concert in Cheltenham Town Hall this evening. So it's only about an hour and a quarter. It's shorter than normal, no interval, because you don't want people mixing around. But I've been watching Wimbledon a bit, and I had to laugh because the Wimbledon spectators, of which there are, I don't know how many thousand, but there's nobody masked up, thank goodness. But then all the people that are probably from the BBC, cameramen, and are standing there with masks on, and I think it's so illogical. They're standing in front of a whole group of people who haven't got any masks on, and there they are with this black mask on outside in the open air. People have lost all their logic, haven't they?
And then you see I don't know if they've got this, but sometimes you see the commentators and they're like 6 feet away from each other. And you're just thinking, we all know that you're not doing that off camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, I better go or I'll miss my coach.
Okay, excellent. See you there.
Bye-bye, Jane. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, great. And Roger, do you want to come on now? I mean, you were we can still do the talk later if you would like, but
sure.
If you're available now and you'd rather speak a little bit now, maybe. Yeah.
What do I I mean, what I've found with the Fruit Festival, it gives you very good information about going raw. And you have doctors, you have people who've been raw for a long time. I went about 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm getting old, hopefully gracefully, hopefully. And it's changed my life in a way where I can feel such vibrant energy from the information and from the practice of being more and more raw in my life and eating wonderful fruit. I mean, I had the most sweetest melon this morning. It was just gorgeous, and my body hums with life. Every cell in my body vibrates at an energy level that is so different to any other food that I've ever consumed. And to me, we are energy. And the Fruit Festival, to me, is full of people who are learning about how to use their energy well. Whether they want to use their mind well, their body well, and their spirit. And it's about alignment for me. Alignment with myself, my true self. I will be giving talks on one of my books that I wrote called Love the Miracle You Are at the session. And I'll be running a men's group, I think, Ronnie. Is that right?
We'd love you to, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a DJ in my part-time, and I'll be running Dance for Life in the morning. And we'll have big parties probably towards the end, won't we, Ronnie?
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, it's, to me, it's given me the ability to grow old without growing old. Gracefully, I hope. Where I feel useful, I feel purposeful. And to me, this wonderful way of eating is another way in to find our soul, to find our heart, to find the miracle that we are. And I talk at many different groups. I'm a member of a centered community 10 minutes from my home. We're all crazy hippies in this community, old hippies. And we just don't go along with any of the narrative. And not one of us has, while we've been in this community, has contracted COVID-19. And we dance a lot, we do yoga, we do brother-sister work. We're always looking at learning how can we live together in a more permanent community. We've just started a wonderful vegetable and fruit shop in the community where it's always vegan, but I'm trying to move them towards more raw vegan. And it's just lovely to feel that I belong. And to me, the fruitarian movement that Ronnie and many others have organized is so important for people to take responsibility for their health. 100% responsibility. So we don't rely on doctors. Yes, we may go to a doctor at certain times, but we really rely on our own thoughts, what comes out of our mouth, and what we put into our body, because every cell in our body is full of energy. When we are on a fruit diet, I believe we could light the city of New York. Our cell energy is so vibrant. But when we eat meat and dairy, our whole way of being just is dulled. The miracle that we are is just repressed. And we get all sorts of dis-ease from a heart that attacks itself and the way we attack ourselves with our mind. We're always in the past and not in the power of now, in the present. So to me, going to the Fruit Festival is a realignment and a reawakening and a beautiful way of understanding yourself. Because when you eat good food and good beverages, you are loving yourself. And you are giving yourself the chance to grow old and really nurture the people around you. And, you know, I love the thought that my old Buddhist teacher used to say, Roger, do people leave you feeling better for having met you, or do they feel worse? Now, I've been a counsellor for 53 years, personal counsellor. And a lot of the people that I counsel have been abused, have been severely depressed, suicidal, and in this last 14 months, my caseload has increased phenomenally because of the whole pandemic, so-called. Because people are frightened of dying, frightened of what's happening in the world. And to me, going to the Fruit Festival is a glimpse, a real good glimpse of how we can live outside the box of fear, and we can return to love. We can return to good understanding of ourselves and each other. At this festival, the people that come, the side conversations you'll have at the food table will alter your life, because you will get so many testimonies from people how they've changed their lives or healed their lives. And I find that fascinating. It's not just the speakers on stage. It's the people that you will meet that will change each other, and we will leave each other feeling much better for having gone to the festival. I've gone on. Sorry, Ronnie.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Roger, I was just gonna say there, you're so right about that, because I think a lot of people's opinion of whether it's this lifestyle and a lot of other things that are a bit alternative is they see people online doing it, and it seems a bit like the only people that are doing this are sort of online, and they're trying to sell something, or they've got some agenda. And the truth is that there's way more people who have done things like this or are doing things like this that have absolutely no interest or ambition to be famous or they don't like that. That's not their thing in life. But they came across this for a number of different reasons. Some of them is because they're athletes. They wanted to perform better. Some of them might have been creative people that it kind of was in alignment with that idea of wanting to be more creative, maybe. For some people, it was a spiritual thing, but for many people, it is purely a health thing. And for some, it might just be a skin condition, but it might seem like a small thing for some people, but for some other people, that's a very big deal. For others, it might have been weight loss. For others, it could have been severe chronic disease. And as Roger says, when you come to an event and you're surrounded by people and you meet people day after day, and you hear these unbelievable stories of recovery, like sometimes extreme recovery. And then when you see in front of your eyes, people come to the festival, and after 7 or 8 days, they're leaving a completely different person. And it looks like they've had a weight lifted off them. And it looks like their skin's changed color. They've lost 5 or 10 pounds, which is just the start. And they've got a new rejuvenation. You know, they're rejuvenated for life. So it's yeah, these are the things that really keep you going. And you know, it's funny as well, because you can get people that really understand this and get it, and they might even come to the event, learn everything, but they never quite implement it. But then you get some people. We've had stories, Roger. I remember your partner Karen once told us a story that she bumped into a lady who wasn't even at the event, but had been living or working on the venue. And she had heard about the event the previous year and heard about the event, researched it a little bit, looked at some videos, and started to implement changes in her life just because she'd heard about the festival going on. And she'd lost 40 pounds, and she'd had all this great transformation, changed her diet. So it impacts people just to hear about it as well. But Roger, you've had a lot of experiences at the festival, and let me ask you, what kind of people do you think go to the festival? What's your opinion of the kind of people that are interested in going along?
I think, one, they're very willing to learn. They're learning about themselves and learning about good health. You know, so often we go to a doctor and we're looking at disease. But what happens at the fruit festivals is the people there want to be really healthy and want to know that when they get up, they're full of energy and that they can sleep well and they can clean their mind and body of any toxicity, of any lies that they believe about themselves. They want to begin to look at their belief systems that were often conditioned in them, that limited their ability to have a truly prosperous life on all levels. And so to me, the Fruit Festival is a wonderful vehicle for so many aspects of changing your life and growing how you want to grow, that you probably know intuitively how you want to grow, but you've never been to the college or the university or the school. It sometimes did the reverse. It put you in a box and very limiting. It's like being in a very, maybe an abusive relationship. I deal a lot with abuse in relationships. And people so often, whether it's the woman or the man, often can't see a way out of that relationship and why they've attracted that relationship to them. What, to me, the Fruit Festival does is it brings the law of attraction to a real place where people are attracted to it because they want to find a new part of themselves. They want to find that miracle of love, of forgiveness, of creativity on all levels. Not just food, but on all levels. And I think that that alignment is what I see happens when you go to a fruit festival. It's all the little vignettes of talks and meetings and thinking and meditating, doing the exercises, whatever it is, you will transform from within to without. That's what I believe, the fruit festival and the people.
Thank you, Roger. And we've had a comment already. Does Roger take new clients? I want to hire him. I want to say that Roger is incredibly busy, but if he does have time, I'm sure that we can pass your details along to him, and I'm sure he can potentially find some time to get in touch. Yeah. And we will. So feel free to email us or send a message, and we can pass on details and so on with all that. Roger's also great in our WhatsApp group, and he personally sends a lot of us songs and messages, heart thoughts, on a regular basis. It's really great to have Roger in your life. He's continually inspiring you and providing you with wisdom on a regular basis. So very lucky to have you around, Roger. And let me ask you about community, because you've obviously been a counsellor for a number of years, a long number of years, with an incredible amount of experience. And I think that I wonder, you've told me stories of the things that go on in some lives that you've come across. You've told us stories at the festival of the things that things that happen, obviously not revealing details of people and all that kind of stuff, but you've let us know the sad reality of some people's lives in the modern world, I would say. But you have this seemingly desire and connection for community. You've got the community there in Hebden Bridge. The festival is a community. I believe you've lived in communities potentially all your life. And I'm wondering, I guess a couple of questions there is, why do you think that's so important to you, the idea of living in community with people, but also some of the people you've come across that have been harmed in life, have had disadvantaged lives, who have struggled to find their way in life. Do you think that would be able to happen if those people had a real community around them rather than what seems like the isolated lives that some people live? I'd be interested in hearing that as well.
Yeah, I for myself, sorry, my video stopped working. I don't know why. It's Harriet. I was a raw vegan for 3 years on my own before I went to the first Danish festival, and it was the most amazing thing that suddenly from having, I just started up as a raw vegan and with reading the books and everything, and I just ate in that way, and it felt great. But then the change when I went to the festival, in the Danish Fruit Festival that doesn't really exist anymore, I don't know, but and then suddenly you have this feeling of having a whole bunch of people on your back, you know, and you go out from there and you go with the feeling of having a whole community that you carry around with you in your everyday life, and you're not alone anymore. And that was like the most important thing for me as a raw vegan, that suddenly you feel strong as 100 people, not as one, even though we're not together, and especially in this time. But you know, the strength of being so many people together, it's and the community carries on through all of us and through the fruits that we eat. You know, it's as if everybody that eats the same fruit, well, you know, we all get a little bit of the linking together through the fruit.
Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you very much.
I think for me personally, why I love community is that I'm basically I get great vibes from being around people. I love being around people. And some of the people that I work with are not easy people. But in the community that I'm a member of at the moment, called the Centre Community, people come there because they've often been rejected by their own families and they don't fit in easily. And it's been wonderful recently. We've done a deal with the police. They don't come in to the community because it would disturb the mental balance of people in the community. And they haven't come in during the lockdown. And it's been wonderful that we have created a place where people feel safe and they can learn from each other. And there are about 3 counsellors there. We are renovating the beautiful church. We've got 15 therapy rooms in the place. We've got a massive dance floor, and we've got wonderful vegan food. Not all raw yet, but it's coming. And people are changing. I see people absolutely changing for the better, living in community, than being homeless or isolated. Some of the people who come are farmers who are going to allow us to sow our vegetables and grow fruit trees on land. Community draws in different talented people. And I mean, I see Ronnie, and I see Harriet and Grant and all these people, Chris, all these people have so many talents. When you draw together people under a raw food lifestyle, you bring people together and they magnetize and create a new paradigm of thinking and action and behavior, which is so much better than being in institutions that sometimes detract from the soul of people, where they feel alienated from themselves, what I feel about community, if you're really willing to live in community, you can create a far freer soul inside you, from mind, body, and soul. You just really hum at a different level. You have a ding when you wake up. You want to live instead of fearing dying. I don't know if that helps, Ronnie.
Absolutely. And I guess the other thing I was thinking of as well is, my question to you is, when people live in community as you're talking about, it feels to me like it's less likely for bad things to happen in their life. Now, maybe that's a strange statement to make, but what I mean is, when you have people around you, they're aware of what's happening to you. Their eyes are seeing you every day from a different perspective. They're seeing your body, your skin,
Mm.
the quality of your thoughts, your eyes, all these things. They're looking at you. They're aware of small changes. If you're emotionally changing, they're aware of it. They're maybe concerned. If you're physically changing in a negative way, they're maybe concerned, and they might be alerting you to things that you might not notice yourself. But they also are helping to regulate the behavior of others around you potentially. And I wonder if we miss out on that as well, which is a community that protects people in many ways. And bad things can happen as well in situations like that. It can be corrupted. But my feeling is that there's a lot of bad things that happen to people because it's hidden away, and that individual people can go down bad roads, if that's the right phrase. They can stop growing. They can stop trying. They can move down negative thought patterns and things like that without people around them. What do you think about that? Is there any truth to that?
Let me give you real examples. In the community I live, there are alcoholics, there are drug addicts, there are people coming from abusive relationships, there are people whose business has gone bust because of COVID. They come in and we sit round and we talk. We talk in a circle and we share and we become more honest about what is going on in our lives. We try not to keep secrets, and we do our best to be truthful to each other. Tomorrow morning I'll be leading an Osho dynamic meditation for people who have a lot of anger in them, where they're safe to let that anger out. And it's wonderful to see the changes, because talk therapy can be wonderful, but sometimes people have so much anger in them, such rage from the hurt that they've had, that they need a safe space, really safe, to express it and come through it. So to me, like, community is a way where we can experiment being different to how we've been conditioned. From parents who didn't know how to love themselves, possibly, who didn't know how to give us what we really needed as children, because of their thought patterns and their previous generation that brought them up. Community, to me, what you're doing, Ronnie, is a way of changing people's belief about themselves, and the way that we can eat good food, and it makes a tremendous difference to our thoughts, and it makes tremendous difference to every cell and organ in our body. And that creates a real person.
I think that I had a very vivid experience of this kind of thing when I was in Thailand last year. And I went to Thailand on the 3rd of March or something, or the 4th of March. And I remember arriving there, and there was a sign up that said that the full moon party had been cancelled. I think it was that night or the night later or something. They had this full moon party on the beach there on Koh Phangan, quite famous tourist thing. And I thought, that's funny. Why are they bothering with this in Thailand, you know? But COVID, the lockdowns all started about a week later, you know. So in Thailand, Southeast Asia, you know, they've got the masks on before anyone else. That's their thing, you know. We didn't really have masks on very quickly. I think we went 4 or 5 months before anyone wore a mask. we forget all this, like no one was wearing masks. So anyway, so there was lockdown. You couldn't go to the beach, although sometimes we still did, but you couldn't, you know, things were closed, the gatherings were closed, and so many things, you know. And 3 or 4 months later, things started to open up again. And I remember going to the first few events, musical events, live music, people singing together. There was such an excitement. It was a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And I remembered that this is what we all really need and love. And other people, hopefully for most of you, you know, it's exciting to be around people. It's a joy to see the dynamics of other people's lives and their relationships and them interacting with people and seeing people you've never met before, and you can, without even meeting or talking to a person, you can see the life in them and the excitement in them and the ambition and the love in them and whatever else. And it's just, you forget that that's such a big part of being a human being. You know, I think it is like sunlight. We need the light of other people and community connections, the excitement of it. I think people are personally, I think people are the most important thing in life. I know a lot of people love animals and love art and nature and all these things, but for me, exceptional people is what that's what I'm on the hunt for. You know, I'm on the hunt for finding these exceptional people that I can just sit and bask in the glory of their character. And you know, Roger's one of them, but a lot of you are that to me as well. A lot of people at the festival, and I just sit back and I just take in the brilliance of many people. And I'm not. It doesn't have to be accomplished people and speakers and all that stuff. There's many people that I'm just blown away by their kindness or their patience or the wisdom they have or whatever it is. So I personally, I'm kind of an introvert, but I realized that I needed to get over that a little bit because I would miss out so much in life if I didn't make that investment, I suppose, in trying to find wonderful people to be around. And that's one of the statements that people have made about fruit festivals, and I don't know exactly why it attracts such a great quality of interesting people, but someone used to say that he talked about the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and he said that he could, because he was a fruit farmer, and he said, I actually have better fruit at home, but I cannot meet the people at home, and I go because it's the awesome people festival. And he would go and meet so many friends and great people and have great conversations, and it'd be the highlight of his year, you know. And that for me has been the gift of this. And many other people have said this: listen, you think you're going to come for the food, you think you're going to come for the education, you're going to leave with this amazing network of great people and instant friends. Jane was talking about it earlier on, about this almost instant connection with people, this instant conversations. And it is kind of easier when you have something in common, when you have a common, you know, goal in life or a way of looking at things, or you've been trying to do the same diet and so on. So I love it, and I love the memories. And I don't know how it plays out later in life, but I get the feeling that later in life, potentially, that your memories are very important. And they are what inspire you, and they are what I don't know. I'd like to ask you about that, Roger. What do you think about the idea of like, well, what I've just said there, I suppose, and I feel like we don't come home from the festival with anything physical, but we come home with something in us, and I think we come home with memories and that we've changed and things like that. What's your thought?
Sorry for jumping in, but probably memories are the only thing what matters eventually in the long run, because
yeah.
I'm reading a very interesting book at the moment, and it's called "The Warmth of the Heart Prevents Your Body from Rusting" by Marie de Hensel. And it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And because at 73, I know I'm getting old, but I want to age where I'm purposeful, where I have meaning, where I have connection. And connection to me means on mind, body, and soul level, where you can sit with people and still be respected as you age. And to be, oh, hello. Oh. So to me, at the Fruit Festival and any community, everybody is a mirror to each other. And sometimes we don't like the mirrors that people show us. If I judge, say, somebody really harshly, I'm really having to have a look at myself, why I'm doing that. And that teaches me something more than a lecturer standing up in front of an audience. I need to learn, why am I judging? Why am I blaming? Why am I pushing my hurt onto somebody else? And the one thing we're learning in our community at the moment, just down the road, is how do we not hurt each other with our own pain that is unhealed and project that pain onto each other. And to me, that is a wonderful lesson to see. We each have lessons to learn. I can't learn yours, you can't learn mine. But what we can do is take responsibility for our behavior and responsibility to help each other when we are weak, when we are vulnerable. And I think that is wonderful, real caring, where we can really create genuine, authentic caring of people. At the moment, people my age and older are often shunted off into institutions of care and are just forgotten. And that is so sad. It doesn't have to be like that. But each person must learn to take responsibility for their health, for what they put into their bodies, so they keep themselves alive and energetic for most of their life until they take their last breath. And I think that that's what's so wonderful about the whole fruitarian movement and raw vegan movement, is that people are wanting to take responsibility for their lives, take their power back from institutional health that sometimes is the blind leading the blind. Doctors are wonderful, nurses are wonderful. I live with an ex-nurse. But sometimes I can see that the people have created their diseases in their body by what they put into it and what they put into their mind, into their subconscious mind, that makes them ill. And I just want to be alive right till the last day. I talked too much, Ronnie, sorry.
No, that's great. That's excellent. Very cool. Very cool. If anyone's got questions for Roger, please feel free to put one in the chat below, or jump on if you like. And we'd love you to keep on contributing, Roger. We'll just let a few more people jump in as well, but we'll definitely come back to you as well. Susanna's saying thank you, Roger. So a lot of people are enjoying what you're saying. But I would let's give you a little break, and we'll come back. But Harriet, could you speak? Are you available, or are you're muted right now? Let me unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? Unmute.
Unmute myself. I'm unmuted.
Excellent. Excellent.
I think another incredible thing about coming to the festivals, and that always gives me a lot of emotion, is that as a raw vegan, we are used to always travel with big bags and suitcases full of fruit. And wherever you go, you always have to sort out your own food and bring your own food and even your own cutlery and things. And suddenly you come to this place where there's just food there. Our food is there and you can just eat it. And you don't have to, for once, be taking care of your own, necessities. It's just all there. And I think that's really, for me, it really marked, this is different, when I came to the fruit festival, because you just go and the real food is there. You don't have to carry anything. You can come just with the toothbrush and your running shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, you've been to a number of events. You're also a runner, so you're part of the running community as well. Ultra running. You've got some amazing achievements in that. You're an artist, a musician. You've done that as well. You've been a mother.
I am still a mother.
that never ends.
Yeah, she's 21,
Still a baby.
Yeah, it's my baby.
Right.
Yeah.
And but the thing I get from you is that for you, a lot of people would think that this kind of healthy lifestyle and running and exercise and eating fruit, they think it's a sacrifice and it's, really serious, and it's discipline and, restricting yourself. And the reason I like seeing you at the festival is because what you're really saying to people is this is fun. And you run up mountains because it's fun. And if the mountain is even bigger, then it's even more fun. And
if it's raining, it's even more fun. And I don't know if I have a self. I think actually I come back to it that it came from my parents, that they allowed me to do everything I wanted. So I think actually I started to put limits to myself to sort of have, fun. That it was a little bit hard sometimes, and now I still like it to be a little bit hard, and I transform the hard life to be a fun life. And what the raw vegan community and food have done to me is that I see that it's not only me that can just run like crazy. I mean, there's quite a few people, very good runners in this, or athletes in this community. And on the contrary, when you do a 100-kilometer race and suddenly you sit down at one of the aid stations and people start to eat pasta and things like this, and you just sit down and you have a big plate of bananas and some nuts or whatever, it's on the races, so you can go crazy on the nuts sometimes. Not that it gives you anything, but it's one of the times where you just don't care, and people are laughing at you like, what do you think you're going to run with this, and then when you take them over and you finish sometimes 10 hours before them, and they've been laughing at you because of your diet, it's a sort of little victory. I think it's very nice. It's also a way for me to show, I mean, this works. It's not much. I don't do it to show, but it's also when I go out running and I eat this diet, I sort of tell people, you see, it's okay, don't have to worry that you're not getting enough, of anything. I mean, we have the strongest legs and the strongest minds. Many of the raw vegans are very, very strong people, and you show them that it's okay. You don't need anything else. This is the deal, and I think that's a great way to do it. And because of the running, and I started to, when you go out running with people, they would say, what about the protein and all this? And so I started to study with Doug, the mentorship program, to really know what to tell the people, because it's easy to say, well, we don't need any more protein, you know, but if you really don't know, and I think that's what we really need to go to the festivals and to the talks to learn, so we really know for ourselves, but also for all the people that ask us out there, maybe out of interest or maybe out of criticism, but at least, you know, to know we all know that we don't need the protein, but we know why, and that's what's good about the festivals, because you get all that information. You can go there with your notepad and you can do a year's course in raw vegan lifestyle in 1 week. And,
yeah, Harriet, and just being around you is really you know, you're one of those people that, to me, meeting you, like that, I've been running recently. You might be happy to hear I've started to run, right? And partly that's because I've met so many runners at the festival, and they're so happy all the time.
Yeah.
And you and Grant run all the time. You're so happy all the time, and I think
you want to be one of the happy ones.
There's something going on here with the running, you know, the ultra running. So yeah, I just think getting around people has that impact. And but you've been at a number of events. What do you think about, like, what some of your experiences, some of the things you've learned or picked up, or some of the people you've met? Tell us a little bit about anything you want to tell us about, really.
Well, I think for me, one of the really wonderful, of course, the food, but also to just walk in a place that is a confined place in a way, and you have all these wonderful souls going towards you and seeing all those smiles and seeing all those like good, they really want the best for you, everybody wants the best for everybody, and you feel so much love in a way that that we don't, like, unconditional in a way that we don't get in the street, because we know that we're all there for a good thing. We're not there to, like, damage anything or to criticize or to judge. There's no judgment, and I think just having this flow of smiling people and smiling souls coming towards you, and when you just walk around there, I think that's incredible and gives you a lot of, you know, if we could just have that all the time. I used to be going out with a street clown, and we often talked about that one of the most amazing things for him is to have all these people smiling and laughing at you or about you, but you know, to have all these smiles coming towards you all the time, and it really gives you something good in your heart. It feels good to see smiles, you know. And of course, with the masks on, you know, now in Spain they just took out the masks last, I think it was on Monday. They decided you don't have to wear a mask outside anymore, and suddenly you can see people's faces and people are smiling, and you don't have to smile exaggeratedly with the eyes anymore. You can smile with the mouth, you know. But I think that's the thing. You can, at the festival, you have all these good-minded people, well-meaning people that transmit so much love, and that's really, yeah.
Thank you very much. So what I'd like to do now, I'll come back to you as well.
Yeah, I will go back to the instrument.
Okay, no problem. But we do have a competition today to win a free ticket for the festival. Some of you might have entered, probably a lot of you have entered it. So what I need to do is draw a number. We had 335 people join. So your odds aren't too bad, 1 in 335. And we need to pick a number between 1 and 335. But the way that we will do that is Harriet, firstly. Harriet, can you pick either 0, 1, or 2, please? 0, 1, or 2?
2.
Okay, you've picked 2. Okay, that's our first digit is 2. We now need a number between 0 and 9. Roger, do you want to give us a number between 0 and 9, inclusive?
6.
2, 6. And Alexander, do you want to give us a number between 0 and 9? Once again, inclusive.
7.
267. Okay, so the winning number is 267. I will go over to my sheet. Will I do this on the screen so that I'm not, let me try and do it on the screen so I'm not doing anything, you know, weird or whatever. Is this the right one? Let me see. Okay, okay, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't be showing all these details here, but anyway, let's scroll through it quickly. 267, 267. Some of you might see your names, unfortunately. If you're not 267, we're still going down, still going down, still going down. Could be someone we know, could be someone here. It's Lorena, 267. Email is Lorena Sally at hotmail.com. So whoever that is, can I ask if that person's here? I'm going to assume there's a good chance they're here today.
Well, she's just one looking to go. Oh.
Is that person here? Out of interest. Okay, let's stop the share here. Lorena, do you happen to be here? I'm going to assume not. Going to assume not. Okay, well, I'll be getting in touch with Lorena and we'll see her at the festival, hopefully. You know, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about the hidden secret history of the UK Fruitfest, and let me tell you something that is a bit of a bizarre secret of the Fruit Festival. We have run free ticket competitions on a number of occasions. Okay, let me turn it. Okay, sorry, Marion, I just heard you chat there a little bit. We've ran these free ticket competitions probably 5 times at least, maybe 6 times, maybe 7. And the way that it's worked is we've had often a number of people promote it and help us promote it, and we gather together an audience of people, and then we've picked sometimes 1, sometimes 2, sometimes more people that have won tickets. Now, how many times do you think the people that won ended up coming to the festival, bearing in mind that they joined a free ticket competition for the festival? Did anyone like to guess out of, say, 7 times how many people turned up?
0?
0? Yes. And that's, I know that that's very strange, and here's what happened a couple of times. We got in touch with the people. A couple of times they just never got back to me. Literally just never replied. Sent them a number of messages, no reply. Sometimes because of that, we picked a second just in case. And sometimes we didn't get a reply from the second person either. And I don't know why that happened, but it happened a number of times. But then other times the people would say, okay, great, gonna come. And then they would say, but my wife would have to come, my children would have to come, my partner, this other person. And then they would sort of go to them, they would sort of say, oh, we can't afford for everyone to come. And they just wouldn't end up coming. And I always thought, well, why not just at least come for yourself? Like, at least come for a few days, something, you know. But it's happened a number of times. So anyway, we'll get in touch with her, and if she's not able to come, then we will see. Maybe we'll pick a second one or something at some point. But thank you very much for everyone for being part of the competition. I'm sure we might run one in the future as well. And but yes, we still have tickets available for the event. I think we're in a very good position. We don't actually need to have more people. We're in a fine position right now, which is quite good. Sometimes in the past we've been a bit desperate for extra people, but this time we're doing quite well. And but obviously extra people, we have the space for it. So I'm hoping that we can get another 10, 15 people would be nice. So if you're interested in coming, go to fruitfest.co.uk/registration. Have a look at the information. Feel free to email, get in touch with questions. You can set up a phone call, which is how we officially register people. And the prices will go up after tonight. So contact us today to make sure you get that. So that is my promotion for the festival, and we hope that you will come at some point. Or I would seriously recommend going along to any local event you've got that might be a similar experience, other festivals, other things. I've almost never heard bad things said about almost any of the events. Now there have been a few that I would say that there was a situation where an event cancelled and there was a bit of a bad situation around that, and I could see it happening. And I could see that it wasn't going the right way. But by and large, and you can get in touch with me if you like, but there are events, there'll be another one in Austria, I think, hopefully in September. There's Woodstock in August in the US. Highly encourage you to go if that's doable for you, local. And there's a lot of retreats, smaller retreats that are run by people, but feel free to get in touch with us if you want to ask, do we recommend such and such people, or have we heard good things about them, and all the rest of it. I can't always give full details about everything, but I can give you what I've heard as feedback. And there's not too many places that I wouldn't encourage you to go. So just wanted to say that. I think we will have some special guests coming on a little bit later on, but let's keep going with some conversation and some questions. And let me just read through some of the chats here. I think Ray's saying he tried to catch up. Okay, apparently there's a football match on today. Is that going to start soon? I fully support England. I fully support England. I don't just say that because the festival is based in England. Honestly, I don't. I do support. I'm very happy to see England do well. You might not believe me, but I honestly. So I'm looking at other faces here, and let me ask James. James, you've been at the festival more times than most people as well. You go back to the second festival, similar to Roger. And you've come back a lot, and I'm interested as to why you've been so many times and what you've got out of it.
Yeah, okay. I think early on it was the first festival. It's surprising. I think it's been said by a lot of people before that out in the world, when you're speaking to other people about just basic veganism or health, you might get a lot of pushback, people not understanding, and it can be difficult. Then you get to the festival and you speak to anybody about any of the topics that might come up, or any of the YouTube videos you've been watching, or maybe some of the books you read, and you'll just find that everybody's on the same level. A lot of people have seen the same things you have. They've read the same things you have. They've got a lot of the same motivations. So it's just a relief, I think, from the everyday world where everybody is in conflict with you because you're different, I guess. And then you come there and everybody's supportive and understanding, I guess. And even worse when the COVID came along, last year the festival was the same thing. So strangely, everybody in the raw vegan movement seems to have fairly similar views on COVID as well. So it gave us sort of relief in that sense as well. It's a supportive environment as well. I just not necessarily when you look at anybody trying to do anything new at the festival, like a new speaker or somebody's doing an activity they're not used to, or somebody taking part in an activity, the support is, you can always feel it. It's like everybody else is willing that person to succeed. Difficult to describe that, but you can feel it when you're there. I think when you take all that as well, and then there's the effect of eating fruit for a week. I think if you're not raw, and then you've been eating raw since the start of the festival, about maybe day 4, I think people start to feel different as well. So you take that environment and then that feeling that the food gives you as well, and you get a sort of a calm joy, I think is the best way to describe it, which is, it's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced it, but that is one of the draws, is that feeling that you get after a week around the people and eating the food. So
for sure. Yeah, thanks so much, James, and you've been a supporter of the event. Look forward to seeing you again this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, excellent, very cool. Alexander, you came last year. We spent some time together in Austria, so we've been to a number of events together. You've been part of our Fruity Friday groups a lot and things like that. How did you enjoy the festival? It was your first time last year. I think it might have been your first event.
Yeah, it was my first event ever in my raw vegan, like say, lifestyle. But I lived like that much longer than that. I asked this question myself many times: with what kind of rock I lived before that. So for me, it was an eye opener for sure, because our community is very sparse, extremely sparse. It's so unusual to find anyone like in a normal life sharing the same beliefs. But there it was like 100% concentrated environment of those kind of individuals. And that was amazing. So yeah, and since then I'm sold, and I'm trying to attend as much these kind of events as I can find and technically execute my attendance. So sure. And on the ongoing event, I hope I'll be having an opportunity to speak something about like fitness or bodybuilding, because like a raw vegan bodybuilding is very unusual, so to say, like very unusual, but I'm pretty convinced that it's absolutely possible. And if anyone is interested in that, be my guest, and I hope I'll have this kind of chance to speak about that somehow, or we'll do some workouts if anyone is willing to join. So yeah, this kind of thing. Plus, yes, I'm looking forward to meet all the people I met last time, and obviously new people as well. So everything is there. Definitely looking forward to attend. Yeah,
yeah, you mentioned the fitness, and that's always a part of the festival as well as fitness activities, and obviously that's part of a
yeah. Well, I was just thinking the interesting thing I can bring, because usually like the fitness related to raw veganism or veganism in general, it's more about like endurance sports, like people run, do yoga. Well, yoga is not really like a endurance activity, but anyways, this is what usually people do. But in my case, I can bring a bit more flavor in that, and saying if you want to build muscle a little bit, lean down a little bit, yeah, it's absolutely doable if it's your intention. So yeah, that's the thing where I can probably contribute something interesting, I would say.
Yeah, great. And you were also we were also in Austria, so you went to another event basically right after. You really enjoyed it, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I mean that Austria thing. When we came there, and the first 2 days, it was pouring rain, cold like 0 degree, and I was like, Jesus, what I'm doing here in the first place? But obviously, it's just yeah. But it ended up being a very cool event. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what are you looking forward to this year?
Again, I can say some obvious stuff, to eat some good fruit and like a raw vegan meals, which someone else will make for me. That's absolutely, because I'm so lazy individuals, and for me, like even making a very simple salad is an effort. I usually eat things like this, like they are in a natural form. That's it. But here, with all those amazing meals which our chefs and the assistants made for us, that was amazing. But yeah, some interesting, again, meeting people. I mean, but honestly, my main and the only goal is to meet people, because my kind of friendship circle extended so much immediately after that week at the UK Fruitfest, and I was amazed. I was seeking for that like for a couple of years or even more, with absolutely zero success rate. But yeah, meeting new people, and obviously to meet old friends as well. So let's make this thing rock.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I look forward to seeing you again. Yeah, and learning from you as well, from the fitness side of things. I think you've got a lot of stuff to say about that. I enjoy listening to you talk about that. You're kind of a no-nonsense character. You're very clear on what you believe is the right thing and accurate. So you give a very definite way of looking at things that other people can appreciate. So great. Looking forward to seeing you there. Okay. Anyone want to ask any questions, anything, feel free to contribute. I'm going to check and see if there's anyone else that would maybe want to pop on. Samantha, you want to say anything? You'll be there this year. Are you free? Are you offline at the moment?
Hi. I'm just going to be going into Halford because I need to replace something. I just want to say that I went and I just really wanted to spend time with other people that eat the same diet as me and how to focus on being healthy, not, with the food and mentally as well, spiritually too. And I actually, it's interesting you were saying about being around people who have kind of like quite a lot of skills and talent and outstanding people. And I was quite, there's definitely a lot of very outstanding people there. And a lot of them have, connected and stayed friends. And it's just such a loving community. If you're thinking of coming, just do it. If you get that free ticket, come. If you don't want that free ticket, I'll have your free ticket. And I'll leave it to you because I've got to go back in next. The guy's waiting for me now, so I'll leave you to it.
Thanks, Samantha. Thanks for jumping on. Excellent. We're going to have special guests coming on at some point in a while, so worth staying around for the next hour or so. Barbara, I'm seeing you there. You want to come and tell us, you had an experience at the festival last year, and tell us a little bit about your story. You're happy to come on, tell us a little bit about your story, how you ended up at the festival, your fantastic husband, and your experience at the event. Let me just, I'll need to ask you to unmute, Barbara, if you can unmute your screen. If you go down to there you go.
Yeah.
This is Barbara Laird, everyone.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, we had a brilliant holiday. I just booked it and I said, I've booked for 2 tickets, but if you don't want to come, that's all right. I'll find somebody else because I really wanted to take it further. We were already raw for breakfast and partially for lunch. And I was running out of ideas and I didn't want to miss out on anything that we need in the body when we go raw fruit and veg. So that was why we came, and Peter thoroughly enjoyed it. The first day I did have a treat with us, a piece of cake and a tot of whiskey, which we devoured on the first night, not because we needed it, just because it was there. And I said, well, we can go down the shops tomorrow, but the shops never happened. We just enjoyed the whole week of your beautiful food, and we've carried it on with a twist.
Do you know, that's funny because a lot of people do say that they don't, sometimes people do plan to leave and get something else because they might feel, you know, that they're not full, but a lot of people feel like they enjoy the food so much and they actually feel very full and satisfied with the food that's on offer.
Yes, yes. And you told me to eat more. I was so amazed at how much food you devoured, not realizing that we needed more calories when you eat this way. And you just said, well, fill your bowl up and walk round. So I was eating 24/7 for the first 3 or 4 days. And then I got into it and was able to eat a lot quicker. And yeah, I keep to 3 meals a day now. We're about 80% raw. I still have a small cube of meat and a small cube of fish. And that is my twist to the...
Do you have any whiskey now and again?
Yes. And I've lost 3 stone.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm walking 4 miles a day. I've lost my diabetic, I was high blood sugar. I've lost that, so I don't need any metformin.
That's
yeah, I can't complain at the way I feel. The depression hasn't returned. I'm just a happy-go-lucky person and everything is perfect.
That's great to hear. I remember that you joined us at the festival last year and it seemed like you were walking almost in crutches. I'm not sure if it was crutches that you had, but it seemed like
I had a rollator.
A rollator. And by the end of the festival, it seemed like you didn't need it anymore.
I didn't use it as much. When I walk my 4 miles a day, I still use it for balance. It's just purely for balance, the nerves in the back of the leg. So my next step is to find somebody who's a neurosurgeon or acupuncturist because that's dealing with the brain, which mine is, because of the nerves. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I just remember you looked about 20 years younger at the end of the event. Everyone was commenting on that. And your husband wasn't really, I don't know if he was so convinced about the diet at the start, but he got a lot out of the festival as well, I believe.
He got a lot out of the festival with Roger. He loved his dancing. Yes, and he still does it round the garden in the morning. And he's not as raw as I am. But as you said to me when I rang you and said, can I have a twist to my meal? I like a treat. And you said, if you come back to me in 3 years and you're raw vegan, then you've done your job. So I'm a lot more raw now and absolutely loving it.
I'm really glad that you're still getting a good experience, and I look forward to seeing you having lost even more weight. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I can't go much lower because then you start looking ill, don't you? I've got to keep my eye on myself. I lose about £1 a week now, so it's very, very slow. Yeah.
Well, that's
but
good.
Really looking forward to it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you, Barbara. And do you mind that? Can I ask your age? Is that okay to ask?
78.
78 years old, and this was your first festival?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. Fantastic.
It's never too late to start, is it?
A great message. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people have already given up on trying anything new at my age, never mind at 78. So I've been inspired. I've had a number of friends that I've met at these events that have started in their 70s, and it's always been great to see people, great examples of people that are still challenging themselves and are still improving and are still open to new ideas.
Yes.
You've been a great example of that for me as well. So wonderful.
Thank you. I listened to one of your podcasts the other day, and you talked about doing it for so long and being raw and then going off and coming back to it. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's natural for a lot of people. I think one of the things that people don't appreciate is that this is part of the journey of success at anything in life, and especially changing your lifestyle, changing who you are. When you're starting to do something, incorporate something new in your life, it could be learning a language, it could be a new relationship, it could be starting to play an instrument, it could be a new job. It's you actually change as a result of it, and you have to be open to that. And I think that we resist that sometimes unless we're forced to change. We can resist it, and we can go back to our comfort zone. And a lot of people and a lot of things in life, we start things with great enthusiasm and we fall off. And a lot of the time, understanding that that's just part of the process is important, and just trying again. Every time you get more knowledge, every time you go a little bit further, every time you have more confidence, and you remember that sometimes the voices in your head that are telling you to go back to that comfort zone are not really serving you anymore. And you learn maybe time to ignore some of these voices and move forward.
Yeah, and exactly.
I definitely think that I've seen many people try and jump very quickly into maybe extreme versions of doing this, and they end up not being able to sustain it very long. I would much rather see someone make the changes that you have, maybe not the entire transition or whatever, but you've eliminated a lot from your diet, you've incorporated a lot in, you're comfortable with where you're at, you've made great steps forward, and it's at the pace that you're happy to do it at. You're seeing the improvements, you're losing the weight, importantly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that might try 100% juice fast for 30 days or something, and they might achieve that, but they've not made a change to their lifestyle. What you've done is made a change to your lifestyle, and you've maintained that.
Yeah.
So, potentially you go further if you feel that that's what you want to do, if you enjoy that. But you've already made such a huge change, and that's what people need to see is if you can make even one change, it can make a huge difference. If you can change one meal that you eat, if you can add in more fruit, more raw foods for a certain meal in the day, or whatever it is, you're having more of an impact than thinking about these short-term extreme changes. And I think that there's a great value in the juice fast and fasting and all these different ideas. But what Barbara's done for me is a better example for a lot of people. She's made huge changes, and she's maintained that over time. So I definitely think you're doing it the right way. But
yeah, it was my way, and I think we're going wrong if we do it our way. You know, you said to me, don't follow it so rigidly, and that's what I was doing. And then I think you start getting the cravings. I've had no cravings since I've had that twist to it, and for me, that was the whole thing of it.
Yeah, and I know it sounds bizarre, and I know that some people would think when they've heard Barbara has a little bit of whiskey now and again, they might think, well, this is an unusual approach or whatever. But I honestly know people that they would say, oh, I would never drink whiskey, or I'd never do this, I'd never have meat and all this stuff. But they haven't made the full change of their lifestyle yet. They keep on going back to a diet that's entirely full of bad habits, whereas Barbara's made changes where she doesn't go back to those really bad habits anymore. Now, which is better for me? What she's done is better to me. I feel that when a person has made significant changes to what they eat every single day, it's better than the person who one day eats very well, the next day eats, goes back to junk food again, and then they eat well, and then they do a fast, and then they go back to junk food again. I see a lot of people in that cycle, and maybe they're caught up too much in the idea that they're trying to be perfect right away, and they want to control it and be in control and force myself to do the right thing. And if I'm not doing it right, I'm a terrible person and all this stuff. Firstly, none of us are really in control. So drop that idea, and none of us are immune to temptation. I don't bring chocolate cakes around me all the time. I don't have a desire to eat a chocolate cake, but if it was sitting there, I'm much more likely to accidentally have some. So I'm not going to just have it sitting there all the time. I'm not going to fill my life with pizzas and fast foods and all these things, because I'm not going to say I'm not vulnerable to having something like that. I just create an environment where that's less likely to happen externally, but also internally. I don't think about it anymore. So if I started to think about it, I was around it all the time and all this stuff, I'm not immune to being tempted to eat something that's off the path for me. But you've made changes to your lifestyle. You've changed the way you eat. You changed what you buy. You're going forward with it. You've seen the benefits with the weight loss, but also the disease reversal. So it's amazing. And if going further makes it even more benefit, then that's great. I'd love to see Peter go further with it with you. I'd love to see him get
I never push him. And
sure.
Thinking about how Peter does it, we had visitors, my son and his wife. She had a gastric band 12 months ago, and she's lost as much weight as me, but she looks ill. She's happier and she's lost her weight. But they came round, and my son loves cooked roast beef. So we had a roast beef dinner. Well, again, I just had my little treat, and they all enjoyed it. I never throw raw fruit and veg in front of people. I will always cook them a meal, and I will eat differently, or I will join them on that day, because I don't think one day here and there upsets you. I think your body can cope with a one-off.
I think you can cope, but that is the very interesting word in the sentence, is that it can cope with it.
Yeah.
I understand there's a lot of things my body can cope with, but I no longer feel the need or the desire to expose it to those things, and I'm happy with that. Yeah. I think that if the one thing I say, obviously, if you're able to do that and it's working and everything's still going well for you, it's all good. But yeah, I'd love to see Peter go a little bit further as well.
Yeah.
I think he would get a lot of benefits. I think he would feel some incredible benefits from it.
He would get the energy.
Yeah, he would get a lot from it. But great to speak to you today, Barbara. Really excellent. And looking forward.
Thanks, Ronnie. Lovely speaking today. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, I was going to talk a little bit about some of the history of the festival, if it might be of interest. And if you've got any questions and anything else, we do have a special guest potentially coming on at some point. We'll see if they're around. Not quite yet, but we will see. And so I guess I want to talk about.
Good question. Special guest coming to this call.
Oh yeah. Special guest. So what was I going to say? 2013, 14, I came home from 2012, came home from a fruit festival called the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I happened to have spent time in a cabin with about 4 or 5 people from the UK and Europe. Well, from Europe, probably 5 or 6, 7 people, same cabin. And we stayed in touch with each other, and I was so inspired by that event, and my life was changed. And I came home and I thought, I want to help somehow maybe get this information to more people and meet more people like this, because I found something incredibly exciting in my life. And my life wasn't particularly exciting at the time. So I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, but I'd heard this idea, go towards your highest excitement. Has anyone ever heard that kind of phrase? Go towards what excites you, go towards your excitement. And I'd heard that and I thought, this is something I'm really passionate and interested about and excited about. And it probably wasn't the logical and rational thing for me to try and go to more fruit festival events and all that stuff. But I just thought, this is such a great thing in my life and I should try and dive into this a little bit more. And I had these friends in the UK, we stayed in touch. We ended up meeting up later in the year in London. At the time, the 80-10-10 community, the movement, the book was really expanding in the world. And what was happening at that time, there was such an interest in it from so many angles, from young people, from athletes. And in London, there was a group that my friend started on the meetup.com. It's a group for people to create meetups. And that group had 900 members in the group called 80-10-10 London, 900 members. So there was a lot of interest, and she would put on gatherings and join people together. And sometimes 60 people would show up, sometimes 70, sometimes lots and lots of people would show up. And she gathered some of us together. So we went to a flat in London, had a great time, met new friends, met people. Usual thing with this community and with this movement, met wonderful people, had a great time, wonderful experience. And we kind of wanted to keep that going, that little group. She actually said to me, what do you think about the idea of doing a festival in the UK? And I said, I would support you to do that. I'll help you with it. I'll do whatever you like. I'll be part of that for sure. So she actually had the idea. Her name was Pilar, and I've not heard from her in a long time, but Pilar was her name, and she'll come up a little bit later in the story. So, Pilar, funnily enough, she'd arranged this weekend that we were all spending time in a flat in London together, and there was people from Europe, good group of people, and she also arranged a party. And the party had, I think, 50 people showed up to this party, in addition to the amount of people that we had at this retreat. That's how much interest there was in this at the time. There was a real big interest. And she didn't show up at the party, so we had to arrange this party with all these people. So Pilar was not the most reliable person for putting on an event, but she had a great idea. She set up a good party. A lot of people were there. There was, I think there was a lot of people there was a lot of international people, again, all races, all cultures, big group, and a lot of fun. So that was great, and that feeling was to try and do something like that again. So the next year, I went to Thailand to spend time with some people and some friends. I'd met some great friends at the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I went to Thailand to spend some time with them. Thailand's always been a kind of, you know, magnetic place for raw vegan people. A lot of people say, oh, Thailand's the place. It's the best fruit. It's all this tropical fruit, and it's the weather, and it's everything. And so my friend was going to Thailand. I, at the time, by the way, just want to put in perspective, I was working in a call center for HMRC, taking tax credit phone calls, working tax credit. So my salary was actually quite close to minimum wage, living quite a, what do you call it these days, minimalist lifestyle. But I said to myself, you know, I didn't really put money into alcohol and new clothes and cars and all this stuff. So I thought, I want to spend my time going to these events. So I took 2 weeks off, or maybe it was 3 weeks off, and went to Thailand to spend time with my friends, and met once again, more raw vegan people there, and had wonderful experiences in Thailand. That was my first year of trying to stay raw, and that was about 7 or 8 months into it. And came back from that, and actually I felt like the festival had been a better experience, and the gathering had been a better experience than just being in Thailand, you know. And I've never, I have kind of been at events in Thailand, but never been quite had something where it had the equal community experience, but had a nice time, and I liked seeing my friends, obviously. That year I went to 3 or 4 or 5 festivals. I went to Denmark, I went to Woodstock, I went to an event in Slovenia, which was fantastic. By the way, these were all fantastic. I went to Spain. Every one of these events, over and over, I was just blown away. And I was just saying, this is fantastic. The people are great. The food's great. What's changing in my life, changing in my body is amazing. And I was more and more inspired with each event to do something myself, and that we could do something. And I had no experience, had never run a group, had some experience in playing in bands. I'd been a musician, so sometimes I'd been involved in, you know, concerts and things like that, but not in a big way. Pilar didn't seem to be organizing something for us later in the year, which is, you know, she'd done that the year before. So there was a gap, there was a vacuum, and I just thought, well, I guess why don't I put something on? Why don't I try and organize it if no one else will? And usually I would have stood back, you know, but I thought, why not? And I remember being at the Slovenia festival, and Doug Graham had said, what are you going to do this year, you know, to change the world, or what are you going to do to make a difference? He said this to the audience. I've never heard him say that to the audience before, but he said that this particular year at the end. And people were saying, I'm going to love people more, I'm going to forgive people, I'm going to all this. And I was sitting there going, I think I'm going to put on one of these festivals. I think that's what I'm going to try and do, because I had such a great experience, loved them. I thought it can't be that hard, you know, everyone's having a good time. So, so spoke to Doug, and I said, what do you we should do something in the UK? He said, and I didn't really know him, and I was struggling to kind of, some of you have maybe met Doug. Some people really get on with him straight away. Some people never really get to know him, struggle to talk to him. and I was one of the people that kind of struggled to talk to him, to be honest, but I would occasionally try and talk to him. And I said about the idea of doing something in the UK. He said I would support that. And I thought, wow, if he would support that and if he would come, then there's a good chance that this could, people would take it seriously. And when I went to Woodstock a while later, Doug was on stage and he said, we're going to have a festival in the UK and Ronnie's going to run it. Right? That's so it was funny because obviously that wasn't the conversation, but that's what he picked up from it. So that's funny. But I thought to myself, right, okay, that's the challenge, you know. And so there was this vacuum. There was the idea in my head. It was exciting to me. I thought, you know, I'm not really doing anything else in my life. So we ended up putting together this small thing called Fruit Camp. And I'd also done YouTube videos for a while at that point, but only really to stay in touch with friends. I had other friends that were doing it. I wanted to just stay in touch and show them what was happening in my life. And a lot of them became big YouTube personalities and had big channels and did very well. And I saw their rise to success, and it's wonderful. And that's a big thing from the festivals as well. It really does make people start to envision a different life for themselves. It's really great. So I probably mentioned it on YouTube, and some people came along from that. We put it on Facebook and all this, and people came along, and we had a really nice time at Fruit Camp. Very simple event. It was in the Derbyshire Dales. It was yurts. It was camping and all this stuff. Very simple, but had a great experience. And at that event, I said, if anyone wants to work on a festival, then come to tent number 2 or whatever it was, and we'll have a meeting. And I basically said, I think that we should try and put on a festival. And if any of you want to work on it, I think it would be a great idea. And obviously didn't have any idea how we were going to do it exactly, but we would work it out. And there was probably about 8 to 10 people. And all of them said, let's do it. All of them wanted to be part of it. So that was really the birth of the UK Fruit Fest. From that moment, we started to have a kind of group together. I'd never really run anything or been a manager or been any position like that. I'd never been responsible for anything. So I was making this transition from, I'm someone that goes to these events and I'm loving it, and I'm smiling and I'm lighthearted and I'm happy and I'm just having a great time. And but now I'm realizing everyone's waiting for me to do something, and everyone's waiting for me to make a decision, and everyone's, you know, what have you. And I thought, okay, and I'd never been in that position before. So I guess just started to think, right, how do we go forward? Well, we need to find a place. Let's try and find a place. How do we find a place? One of the ladies on the team is called Helen. She did an amazing job. She found all these places. I ended up driving around England trying to visit these different places, and eventually we did find a nice place in Devon, Tiverton in Devon. And the one thing that I thought was maybe something that I didn't realize how it would be so difficult was getting the word out there. Now, we had this little team of people. We were getting together, we were trying to share ideas and all that, and we were slowly getting somewhere. One of my friends was helping, his friend made the logo for us. I think we got a website put together simply. One of the guys helped with that. And then the idea was, okay, so how do we promote this? How do we get it out there? And we had a lot of friends we'd met at the festivals that had big followings, and we thought we'd be able to count on them to help share this. And they had websites and things that had a lot of people on them. And obviously Doug was going to be involved. So we'd spoke to Doug and he wanted to be part of it. But Doug also was going to help us with the chef. He was going to bring the chef. He was going to bring obviously his wife and Grant, who was another person that would come and speak. and he was going to help us with the food order. He was going to help with a lot of things. So Doug was going to be a big help, a big support of the event. And we thought also would be a big attraction for the event as well. And I thought it would all be plain sailing and a no-brainer and all this stuff. And that was how I was kind of walking into this situation. And I'm trying to think of the first real moment of like the reality of doing this, because I think what I assumed, this was not really a business idea. This was not really here's a great little way that we can make a little bit of money here, or here's something we can, you know, it was never came across like that. It was always like we had this idea and we thought that the community would love it and there's people that would love it and it was a growing thing and it would all work out. None of us had a business background or mindset. None of us had that mindset whatsoever. And what I naively thought was that optimism, that positivity, that innocence would translate to people, and also what this lifestyle is and everything. But what I found is what actually happens, and this will happen to a lot of you and has happened to some of you when you've went out into the world with something that you're offering from a very pure good place, is you will still get cynical people, you will get criticism, and often the criticism will be louder and more stronger than the positive thing. So there's a lot of people that look at something and say, that looks good, that looks very good, that's excellent, but they don't voice it, they don't reply, they don't say something. But the people that might be suspicious about it and cynical and all this, and we would get comments like, well, are the pillows going to be vegan? Are you going to make sure that this is vegan? We'd say, yeah, we're going to make sure it's as vegan as we can make it. And so are you interested in coming? Oh no, I'm not coming, but I just wanted to make sure that you're doing this the right way, you know. And you get, this is the reality of what you have to deal with. For all the wonderful people you deal with maybe 2 or 3 times interesting people, and you have to be gracious and develop. I'm still not great at that, by the way, but I try and be more gracious and accepting of all the wonderful, interesting, unique people that come along. I can think of something off the top of my head. We've been doing the Fruit Festival for a number of years, and I'm tearing my hair out. It's actually why I went bald, but I'm thinking, like, how do we, all these people that like eating fruit, how do we get them to come to this festival, you know? How do we get them to come along? And I'm at the festival one day, and I bump into this lady. She stops me. Wonderful, wonderful lady, quiet. And she said, excuse me, I don't really like fruit. Will you be serving other food? And in the moment, I had an out-of-body experience of not understanding what I just heard, because for 6 months we promote the Fruit Fest. We talk about fruit. We have the menu. We show the pictures. We send the letter. We had the emails. And she's turned up to the Fruit Fest and she says to me she doesn't like fruit. And, you know, there's wonderful people in the world. So that's all I want to say, you know, there's interesting people. And actually later on I said to her, how did you end up coming to this? And she basically said something like her spirit guide told her to come. So I thought, okay, great. They just didn't tell you what was in the menu, but they told you to come, which is good. And I've talked to her a few times since, and her spirit guides had different ideas about whether she should come or not, but it's all good. But you learn that you expect the unexpected. You start to learn to expect the unexpected. You can't even determine. You think it's going to be just raw vegans that come. And then you realize,
this lesson I've kind of realized that you've probably learned this lesson, because when you called me last year before the event with all this kind of formal stuff saying, hey, and I was talking to you, and when you asked me, I want to reiterate, it is gonna be raw vegan food served only. Are you sure what you are signing up for? Just, well, you kind of phrased it probably in a nicer way. I'm just repeating that. And I was like, well, that's a good statement, which means, and I say, yeah, I clearly understand what I'm signing up for. So probably this lesson is learned.
I probably actually said, Alexander, in the morning, we wake up, we have activities. You can do running, there's a yoga class, there's dancing, and then we get together for a fruit buffet. So I go into quite a lot of, I was going into quite a lot of detail. It's usually melons, other juicy fruits. In the afternoon, we have another fruit meal and other vegetables and variety, sometimes some smoothies, sometimes other things. And then we have more of a prepared salad at night. So I did learn obviously to go into it, but you know, one of the big lessons of doing this is try and expect the unexpected, or learn to expect the unexpected, and be aware of that. Now, the first year, I suppose, here's what I didn't expect. I was talking to you about the 80-10-10 movement. The raw vegan movement is growing, inspiring, reaching around the world. People are changing their life. The festivals are starting. YouTube channels are growing. The message is getting out there, right? And then something happened in the movement that centered around the Woodstock Fruit Festival. And some of you won't remember this, but it even did get into the press in some way, where there were a number of different people at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and there was a community of speakers there called the Pioneers. The Pioneers had a board, they had rules, they decided on a set of rules that they all stuck with the agenda of promoting this lifestyle in this event and the festival and everything. And some of the pioneers were very well known and successful online, and some weren't so much. And maybe there was egos involved. I don't know the full story, but some of them had started to change their diet. They were eating cooked food, and if you don't know who these people are, fair enough. Durian Ryder, Freely are the main people I'm talking about, but they were changing their diet. They started to incorporate more cooked food. They were open about that, and there was a decision made that they should not be called pioneers anymore. Now, the pioneers thing was something that they'd been part of the sign up, the process for that, and the rules around it, and all these things. And one of the things was not to disrespect each other, and another thing was not to, to eat a raw vegan diet essentially, and stick with that and promote that and everything. And they were being very public about changing what they were wanting to do. And part of that, I think, was that they were looking for their own thing. I think they'd been promoting 80-10-10, and they'd been promoting Doug and maybe other people, and maybe they wanted their own thing, and they maybe wanted to branch out, whatever they wanted to do. And so the festival had a vote to decide if they should still be pioneers, and it kind of, I guess, they voted that they should not be pioneers, but they could be special guests and still be part of the event. And they were not happy with that at all. And I can understand from their position, because they played a huge part in making that event possible. They played a really big part, and I think they felt a little bit betrayed and so on. But from my perspective, they had not fallen in line with the ideals that they'd set. But they did decide to kind of go on a bit of a rampage of destroying that event publicly, destroying some of the people involved, such as Doug as well, and some of the other people involved. And that created a major disharmony and a major schism, and essentially destroyed the momentum that had been building up. Now, when did that all happen, timing wise? It happened publicly and blew up the day before the launch of the first UK Fruitfest. Literally the day before. Now, from having all this enthusiasm around the event and people contacting us and everything happening like that, that started to vanish very quickly. And what happened was the people within our group started to fight a little bit, because some of them supported Doug, who was going to be at our festival, and some of them supported the others and Harley and different people. And they couldn't believe what had happened. But we'd already set our agenda to have the festival, and Doug was going to be there, and we were going to be 100% raw at the festival. And at the time, it was a group. And you go into sometimes having a group of people with an ideal that everyone's going to have their say. And you can have that to some degree, but you realize eventually that someone's got to make a decision sometimes. And often, not everyone's really looking to make a decision. They're happy for someone else to make a decision. I made the decision that we were going to go ahead with and continue with Doug at the festival. I didn't see any reason to not continue. And the people that were involved did not agree with me. So a number of people that had been working on the festival, the man that came up with the name for the festival, a man called Duncan, so he was helping. His wife, girlfriend at the time, she was playing a big part, Diana. She was playing a big part in the festival. But she, we basically had a disagreement, and she didn't like the decision I'd made, so they decided not to be part of it. And I think maybe another few people gradually went away. So this team that we had started to kind of break down. So already, I'm not very experienced with these things happening. I'm not expecting that to happen. I had no idea that these kind of things happen. I'd never been like the bad guy. Felt like I was sort of the bad guy, making a decision that people didn't like and everything, and all that. But that's what had to happen, I suppose. And they've never been to the festival. I'm really sad to say that, but I've virtually never really seen them since then, which is quite sad. And it's always been open to them if they've ever wanted to go, but they've never come back. They've never contacted me. I remember them saying, or one of them saying to me something like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not in your position," or something like that, because it wasn't looking good at that time for the festival. So that was the first thing that happened. It really sort of hurt me a little bit, and it was a real stress. And we could easily have stopped at that point, easily. And it might have been, if I came across someone now in that position, I would maybe say to them, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to go ahead. But I sometimes think you need to go through these difficult things. And I thought maybe this is what happens. Maybe this is what you have to do. But I never realized the emotions that would come up and how difficult that would be. I never experienced that before. And I always thought I was a very relaxed, chilled out guy. People would always say, "You're so relaxed, you're almost in a coma," and all that stuff. But when you actually are in charge of something and you're taking it seriously and you care about it and the people involved, the emotions can be heightened. And that happens, right? So it goes on from there. So there's all that turmoil, all that difficulty. We launch the event. We get one person signed up first day, and obviously hoped it would be more successful than that, but it didn't happen, I suppose. And wasn't looking exceptional. But someone who played a big role in the first years joined us. Doug, are you there? You going to join?
I am right here. Yes, I am here, man.
You going
to 45 minutes in a traffic jam, but I made it with 2 minutes late.
Okay, can you turn on your video if you got a camera?
Is it not on?
Oh, you're coming on now. So, Doug, I've been talking for about 20 minutes about the first year of the UK Fruit Festival. And I don't know if you remember a lot about what.
I remember it vividly.
Right. So I spoke to you in Slovenia. Do you remember that at all? Do you remember seeing me in Slovenia?
Yeah, we were at the party is when we talked.
Yeah, the party beforehand.
Yeah, we talked at the party a good bit. I don't remember you a lot during Slovenia because I was pretty darn busy. We talked a little, you, me, and Grant, I think. But we talked a bit at the party, and your thought of putting on a festival and the possibility of doing it. And I saw no reason why it wouldn't be a big success, and I still think so. We've had some government difficulties.
For sure.
Otherwise, you'd be running a massive thing by now, and I understand because this whole COVID is interrupted with my events as well. Shoot, though, you just started out on a great first foot. We had a bus that didn't make it. A bus full of people.
So that's a funny story, right? So the bus thing is a crazy story, actually. And I don't know if you've ever heard the full story of that bus, Doug, but we got to the point where what happened, I don't know if you, well, obviously you remember what happened at Woodstock that year with the Pioneers thing, right? And we've talked about that a little bit. Whatever happened there, disagreements, you were attacked online, the festival was attacked online. It wasn't great for the UK Fruit Fest. Looking back, if I'd known more what I know now, it probably wouldn't have had too much of an impact. But at the time, I took it very seriously, I suppose. But we still chose to go ahead. And from what I saw, people still wanted to come and meet you and still wanted to come to the event and everything and wanted to meet other people.
For sure.
And behind the scenes, there was a lot of things going on, like disagreements. We had a team together and there was people that disagreed with how things were going ahead. I remember at one point, there was a point where I was thinking, okay, we've got this group of people. And I started to realize I didn't want to, this would be a risk to go ahead with this thing. And I realized this is really me driving this, so I can't put these people under that risk. So I thought, I can't ask them to to have a share in this festival, essentially, if things go wrong or whatever. I can't do that. So I'm going to take on that risk. And therefore, I guess I'll have to make the decisions at the end of the day. That's what I sort of learned in that experience. And it's great to try and get a variety of decisions, but sometimes you've got to go with the thing that will keep everything in the right situation and the safest situation, I suppose. But we went around, we found a venue. Another thing, there's two things that happened before the thing that, there's lots of things that happened that were difficult, right? But there was a lady that I'd been working with quite closely, and I'd set up a company. I don't really know if it was needed, but we set up a company. And as part of setting up a company, there's these titles, company secretary. It doesn't really mean that much, but you have a company secretary, you have this other thing. It may mean you sign something once in a while. It doesn't mean that you have any financial risk involved or anything.
Correct.
I remember saying to her, I'd been quite close with this lady for a year or so, and we'd been working together. And I said, I remember saying to her, do you want to be the company secretary? She sent me about 4 or 5 text messages right away that kind of shocked me and saddened me, because it was all like, oh no, I can't lose my house. I can't be part of this. This would be like, we can't do this. And she was totally, firstly, the fact that she thought that I would put her in that position saddened me. That she thought that I was trying to maybe pass it on to her. That kind of shocked me, that she had no trust in me. But it really actually hurt. Like, it actually hurt quite a lot after having another difficult experience before. It was difficult. I don't know if you ever even met her, but you may be involved in conversations with her beforehand. She was called Angie, and she never actually ended up at the festival either. And she's never been, she was part of the birth of it. It's so funny, right? There's people that were really part of it that have never been. But that hurt me more than I realized, her reaction to me.
Well, you know, there are, sometimes people, I'm trying to be tactful as I say this, okay? And we're talking in overlapping bell curves, but men are different from women. There is the difference. And as far as I'm concerned, bless the differences. It's fantastic, the fact that there are differences. I think that's a great thing. And I think that the fact that there are these differences between the way women view problems, challenges, whatever, risks, and the way that men view problems and challenges and risks is part of what makes a man and a woman a great potential team. Because instead of just everybody seeing things the same, we get different views on challenges. And so in general, a man isn't as worried about the risk as a woman might be worried about the risk. So yes, it would hurt you, but it scared her. Whereas had you asked a guy would reply with some legal thing or, some enthusiasm, but not a fear of losing my house. Security isn't the risk.
To be fair, I didn't really have anything to lose, so I was in a different position to her, whereas her and her husband had a home and everything, and I don't know what else they had. But maybe I think it's more that, to me, it hurt that she thought that I was maybe trying to put her in that,
spread the load a little bit. Yeah.
And that was a bit, I can understand where that would, but that revealed something. It revealed something about the situation, and it made me really realize, right, I'm on my own here. I need to really make sure that I'm making the right decision. So
I remember when we walked up on top of the downs and we discussed whether or not to, go forward. And on that rainy day up on top of the downs, and I expressed my gratitude that you were willing to look at a bigger picture rather than any individual blip on the screen. I mean, I got into a lot of hot water because I wasn't willing to do something that was illegal, which was I wasn't willing to discuss anything to do with patient care on an open online forum. I mean, that's just not done. You don't discuss patients in an open online forum. It's illegal. But the people who said, oh, you need to discuss this so we know what happened, all said, well, if he won't discuss it, well, that proves that he's, a bad person. And I'm going, no, it proves I'm a responsible doctor and that you don't understand medicine. There is such a thing as doctor-patient confidentiality, and I would never want to be accused of having broken that confidentiality. But they all said, oh, no, you're obviously guilty of wrongdoing if you won't discuss the case with us. And I'm going, it's illegal for me. My hands are tied. I can't. And so it turned into a big deal at the time because people took sides. The doctors took one side and everybody else took the other. But the doctors are bound by a code. It's a law. It's a moral responsibility. And had I actually discussed the case in an open situation, I'd have been breaking laws and open to suit. So I just had to take the consequences of the situation.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And there was one other situation at the festival I'll remind you of. So prior to the event, we did a meeting in London, and it was with Pilar. You remember
Yes.
Pilar?
Yeah, sure.
And I was describing to everyone that Pilar
On
had
Abbey Road.
out on Abbey Road, Priory Halls, it was called.
Sure,
Actually,
Priory Hall.
Yeah, I found the address the other day. Now, to be honest, we need to do that more. I think we should be putting on things like that more. But at that time, I don't think you were aware of it, but she had a group called 80-10-10 London. This was on a website called Meetup, and it was a place where people would join to find.
Yes, I knew about it.
Groups, and it had 900 members in the group.
Right. I thought it had 8, but 9 is very possible.
I think
it was huge. Group. It was huge.
Were you aware of the group though?
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it existed, and I had offered her my support of that.
I see. So, well, I got in touch with her. I said, let's do a talk and all this, and that came together. I think it was about 80 people there.
Recording in progress.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a full house at the Priory.
Yeah, it was good. We were a little bit late starting. I don't think you were happy about that.
I like to start on time.
I remember you talked about rhubarb quite a lot that night.
Yeah, Simon was there. We had the whole gang was there.
Yeah, we had. So it was filmed. Ian was there and Hildy. There was a lady there selling some exotic fruit at the back.
The exotic fruit lady trying to get that company started. Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing something else now, but that was fun. But I never really told you this, right? But I think a month later or a couple of weeks later, Pilar ran it again. Is that right? Do you remember that?
Yes. I went twice to the Abbey Road Priory.
Yeah. So I don't think, and I remember speaking to you about this and you weren't aware of it. But for me at the time, I'd never run my own thing like this and did all that and put this work in. And after we did the first one, I thought, well, this was such a success, we should probably try and do it again. And so I thought I'll probably be getting in touch with Pilar and we'll set up the next one. And all of a sudden she posted online the next one. And it was the same place, it was the same language, the same words that I'd used, a lot of the same stuff. I wasn't there, so I don't know if it was maybe similar, and I just remember feeling betrayed. And I know that this sounds a bit strange for everyone because you think, well, Ronnie, you're not in London, it's not your group, she could do it herself if she wanted to and all that stuff.
Sure.
But still, I really did feel betrayed by that. And that's an emotion that I know that a lot of you'll say, I don't understand why you would have felt that, but
believe me, it's a very common emotion to feel.
Well, I think it's the fact that she hadn't said to me, she hadn't said, listen, we're going to do another one. Would you be happy for us to do it again? And we'll promote the festival again. If she'd said something, I would have probably said, that would be great.
Been nice. You gave her the idea. It would have been nice. But then again, she ran her group. And like you say, you weren't based in London. So, but I can commiserate with that feeling betrayed. I've had many people start many programs after I showed them my program, whatever it was. I mean, I did a diabetes program that got copied and has become very popular. I've done various other retreats. A lot of people use the facility that I used in Costa Rica for many, many years. I thought it was like, this is my facility, but it wasn't mine really. And then all of a sudden other people were doing raw food retreats at my facility and,
but if they got
the names, I mean, there's been so many festivals with the exact same name on East Coast, United States, West Coast, and they're all using the same name. And I'm going, man, couldn't they be a little more creative than just steal somebody else's name?
Yeah. And, if they got in touch with you and said, this is what we're doing and we'd love your blessing and, whatever, then it'd be great. But I don't know. Sometimes people don't do that. So.
Well, you're growing up, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I can tell you're growing up and you start to go, like doing the responsible thing and doing the right thing. really considering other people is a big part of being a mature person and being a responsible person, and it never works against you in the long run. There's a rather famous hygienist named Nejla Burton, Dr. Nejla Burton, and one time on stage she said, "It's never wrong to do the right thing." And,
Right.
and I thought that was really powerful comment. And if you felt hurt, okay, well, that's about you, but still somebody did something that, you know, they could have been more considerate.
Yeah, I think she'd seen a lot of tickets being sold, and she thought we can cut someone out here. And you know,
I've had that. Yeah, I've had the same thing happen. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But I would have loved her to continue it. You know, if she was going to do it, I'd love to have seen her do it every month or whatever.
She moved to Europe. She moved to Spain. She moved.
Yeah, but this. So we were talking about the bus. So so one more story about the first festival. The bus. We had about 45 people. We didn't have a large group at the first event. We did our best to get the word out there, but we did okay. But you know, I'd never done this before. I didn't realize what it took to do that and fill up events and all that. So we had about 45 people, and you know, my mum was there, Doug's mum was there. So we had support from family members and things like that. Doug brought the chef, Katie magically, all of a sudden brought another friend we didn't realize was coming with her, but she brought an extra person. Did a fantastic job. But and Chris Kendall was there as one of the speakers. Grant was there.
Anne was there.
But also the last few days, so Pilar, once again, I think I'd asked her to help promote the festival, and she sort of replied to me, "Well, what's in it for me?" Right?
We should all have that stamped across our forehead.
Yeah, which is great, you know. Would have been happy for there to be something in it for her. She didn't have to say it like that, but you know, we could have a conversation, whatever. But that was kind of how she was treating it. Like, well, why should I? Like, what, you know? And I'm thinking, well, because it's a good thing. Like, we're trying to help people. We're not making any money here. We're like, we're not like, I don't know.
One hand washes the other is the expression.
So we're trying to do something good, whatever, and we think that you're involved in doing the same thing, so maybe we're helping each other. Who knows? But she said at one point, "How about I get a group of people to come?" You know, she had this big group, and we did a special offer for them to come for a weekend. And it was funny because a lot of them came to the event and they said, "Oh, I would have come to the whole thing if I'd known about it," you know. And so she hadn't really let them know about it very much. But there was about 15 to 20 people scheduled to come on a bus with Pilar from London. And that was all arranged through her. So we did a package deal for her, and she done a package deal with all these people. And the day comes that they're meant to arrive, like 3 days into the festival, and there's no bus. And no one showed up. And I get a phone call from Pilar, been some problems, bus isn't coming, but some people are arranging to come in cars, and we're going to get there. But she said, I can't come, and another person can't come, and so we won't be there. And I said, okay, that's fair enough, that's fine. And so she didn't come, her friend didn't come, and then 2 other people didn't come. A couple didn't come. And the other people arrived. They all had a really nice time. We had a good time together. It was all fun. And then what did I find out afterwards? What had happened? Why had some of the people...
I heard the bus broke down.
Okay, so this is one of the things, yes. The bus was arranged, but it did break down, or there was some problem with the bus. That for sure did happen. Why that happened, I don't know, but the bus didn't work.
That happens.
So they'd all arranged, let's get in cars, let's get in cars. And they'd all arranged cars. Fantastic. There was enough cars. So they were all going to get down there. But who had Pilar decided to try and get in the car with? None other than her ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend. So Pilar and her friend go to her ex-boyfriend's house. And as they're going to go into the car, the garage door is opened up. And Pilar sees a bike. And the bike apparently is a bike that the ex-boyfriend had bought her when they were together. And when they were no longer together, he had went to her house and removed the bike and then gifted the bike to the new girlfriend. So Pilar says, well, that's my bike, I'm taking it. And the new girlfriend says, no, that's my bike. And needless to say, harmonious car journey to the UK Fruitfest was not in the cards from that point. And they decided to look into public transport, but it was not going to happen for them. So they ended up not coming. And that was the full story, right? So that's that part of the story, right? That's that part of the story. Now, after the festival, a couple of days later, the boyfriend texts me, okay, when am I getting my refund? And I said, what refund? You didn't show up. We were here. The food was here. Your room was here. You just chose not to show up. And he told me the story of what had happened. So I found out from him what had happened, right? And I sympathized with him. But he started to have a long conversation with me about getting the money back. And I said, the agreement was you don't get the money back if you don't show up. Like, you know, we were beyond the refund date. And it was on the website, and he said, oh, it wasn't clear. But it was clear. And then he starts threatening me with legal action and threatening me with taking me to court, and his friend's the greatest lawyer in London and all that stuff. And I actually did a degree in law, not that it really helps that much, but I analyzed the situation, and I was asking him questions, and I figured out the whole situation, because he started to say to me, Ronnie, they're not going to get their money back. They're not going to get their money back. Pay them their money back. And I said to him, I don't know what you're talking about. And this conversation was a bit strange, and it kept going. Eventually, I figured out that this gets crazier. So Pilar had went to her ex-boyfriend and said, can you arrange a bus? He'd went to arrange the bus. He'd got the money, paid the bus company. And then the bus company had obviously failed to perform. So he went back to the bus company to get the money. The money of 20 people who had hired a bus, which he decided to hold on to. So then he said to me, he was trying to get his money back for not getting to the festival. And I said, well, you don't get the money back for not going to the festival. And he said, if you don't pay me the money back, then the people that were in the bus don't get their money back. And I'm going to say it's because of you and all this. And I said, well, that's nothing to do with me. The situation of the bus had nothing to do with me. I didn't book the bus. I don't have a relationship with the bus. That's not my obligation. And those people, there's no connection between our relationship as to whether you get a refund and whether these people get a refund for a bus. And it effectively seemed like to me he was essentially stealing money from a bunch of people at that point. And I don't think he ever gave the money back, sadly, to the people from that bus. Now, I think even a year later, I had some people contact me about that. And this is a guy that I'd spent, he went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, if you believe this, the year before. Weirdly enough, he came to our fruit camp as well. So I'd spent quite a lot of time with this guy, and all of a sudden he's like stealing money from people, and it's very strange. By the way, weirdly enough, the only person I ever heard from my connections in life, really, that there's only a few people that I heard suffered from COVID. He actually was on a ventilator because of COVID. No, I'm not laughing about it, but he hadn't really taken care of himself that well. And he kind of reached out to me out of the blue. But what I'm saying to everyone is weird stuff happens putting on events that you don't
know. Stories behind the stories, most of which we never even know about. Every person has a story to tell. It's fantastic when we bring our best stories, our inspiration, our motivation, our growth, our overcoming challenges. Everybody's got a story, and some people many stories, and it's one of the beautiful things that happens at the festival is we get a chance for people to tell us some of the things that's gone on in their life. It gives us perspective on our own life. And sometimes we feel like, I mean, the number of people who have said to me, well, how come I have to eat this way, but everybody else gets to do whatever they want? Or how come I have to take this special concern for my back or my neck or my eyes or my whatever, or I have to watch food combining, but other people don't. And or how come I feel so bad and everybody else feels so good? And I go, you don't really know their story. We don't know the other person's story. Absolutely. I know that the average person in England is on 3 medications.
Yeah.
How many medications are you on, Ronnie?
0.
None. Well, me too. I'm on 0. So somebody's making up for that if the average is 3.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with people, we were in the car the other day and somebody drove past us and made an inappropriate hand gesture. And we weren't doing anything wrong. We were not doing anything wrong. I was not driving. Rosie was driving. And she was towing a big vehicle behind her, and we were on a skinny road, but we were on our side of the road.
Yeah.
And then somebody else, the road actually got so skinny that we got stuck. It got so skinny that we're out in the West Country, and you can only go one, a car either goes in one direction or it goes in the other direction. And so as we had this big vehicle, an oversized vehicle, it kind of stopped traffic for a couple of minutes. And as Rosie went past 6 or 7 cars in a row, she rolled down her window and said, "Oh, we're so sorry to inconvenience you." As the other person had pulled over as far to the left as they possibly could into a gap where there was room to do. And the person invariably said, "Oh, it's quite all right. Oh, it's quite all right. No big deal. Nothing. Oh, don't even mention it. That's quite all right." Each one. And she just kept doing it to each car. And then the very last car, this woman just yelled, screamed profanities at us as, "What are you thinking?" And she just screeched. And I'm going, and Rosie got very upset. And I go, "Look, that's that lady's problem. It's not your problem." But there's always these stories, and I go, she could use some personal growth. Let's not get into her.
Yes.
I want to be able to hear stories without getting caught up in the stories. I want to, people say, "Oh, let's forget about stuff." And I go, no, I want to remember everything. I just don't want to hang on to it necessarily. If I had a bad thing happen to me here, there, or the next, I want to remember it and learn from it, but I don't want to hold on to the emotions that I felt at that time. Like you said, you'd felt betrayed at that time, but you don't still feel like you can't function because you're so betrayed. I mean, like, you let it go and you move on and you welcome the next emotion that's going to come. And the next one's hopefully going to be a good one that comes. And you keep being open to that. And just like I heard a story about a guy that got divorced 3 times, and now he was engaged for his 4th time in life. And his son said, "Dad, like, don't you just think like it's time to quit trying?" and you failed 3 times, 3 failed, and the guy says, no, 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 I'm an optimist, and I'm thinking maybe this time I'm going to get it right, and I'm open to love, and I'm expecting good things to happen, and newfound enthusiasm for yet another stab at this. And and I'm not gonna talk badly about myself or to myself in any way, just because I've failed a few times. I mean, every success in the history of the world is built on a zillion failures, from Edison and 10,000 light bulb filaments that didn't work to anything else. If you want to build a mountain that goes from here to the moon, just give me a bunch of building blocks, and they can all be failures until the last one, which is a success. And I'll build a flight of stairs, as big as you want, and none of them will get me to where I'm. It's like when you're looking for something, you always find it in the last place you look, and everything else was a failure. But you don't berate yourself for the failure. You just go, okay, well, it brings me that much closer to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to share with some people just some of the things that happen and the things you might go through if you do these things. And that's why you need a lot of big reasons to do it, and big reasons to go ahead and try and keep it going, and all that kind of stuff. So you've obviously been teaching about this information for a long time, and you've met with a lot of resistance over the years, and probably a lot of people that haven't really supported you, and were actually against you in many ways, and potentially you missed out on things that you could have been a part of, or you could have sold supplements or whatever, and been part of that scene, and green powders and whatever else. But what's kept your kind of flame burning for doing this and continuing to put this out there?
I think there's a lot. I tried many things that didn't work. When I finally tried something that worked, it was so profound that the desire to share it with others is very strong. When the expression, come on in, the water's fine. Like, it was so profound. It works so well. I remember telling people, like, this, going on a raw food diet, especially a low-fat raw food diet where you eat plenty of fruits and vegetables to the point of being so satisfied with fruits and vegetables that you're really not looking for other things. I used to tell people, like, it could extend your athletic career by 5 to 10 years, which might not mean much to you or me, but it does to a guy who's playing in the NBA, making $12 million a year. That's an extra $60 million, which is a big deal. And if he's making $100 million a year, $500 million extra would be a huge, huge thing. So 5 to 10 years, let alone 10 years more. But I stopped saying that because in my own personal athletic endeavors, I'm only just now getting to the age where I'm seeing obvious decline that I can't hide anymore. I can't hide the decline that my running isn't as quick as it was. I just can't run as quick as I did. I just can't lift as much as I did. Really close, but I'm not peaking out like I used to. Mm-hmm. But that's at 68 years old. And that the expected decline was starting at age 40 or less. So to say 5 or 10 years was just such a gross understatement that it really wasn't fair. It wasn't valid, because even 20 years later, I was still setting PBs and still running as fast, and my physical performance was still as good. My mental performance is still as clear. My memory works. Everything works, and I'm thrilled that it does. I actually, I just got back. My daughter gifted a friend of hers today with a chance to go ice skating and swimming, but the girl doesn't know how to ice skate. So it included me teaching her how to ice skate for an hour. So I've just come off the ice of teaching a girl how to ice skate for an hour, which takes, to teach someone well takes tremendous ice skating ability. So I just got on the ice and was ice skating and loving every minute of that. And so for me, the biggest thrill is watching athletes outperform what they thought were their limits, that kind of growth. And that's where I've kept it. But that's only the 1% or maybe the half of 1%. But everybody else gets the same benefits in scale. You want the clarity of mind. Let's see, some 2,000 years ago, I believe there was a man named Horace who said that as you dull your body with as you dull your body with excess, your mind decays accordingly. And he might have said it the other way around. He says, as you dull your mind with your excesses, your body decays accordingly. I'm not sure which way he actually said it, but I agree with him still. It's not news. And for me, that thrill, I learned how to teach as a very young man. I started my teaching career as a 13-year-old at a camp where they taught me how to teach, and then I've just been teaching ever since. And I find it thrilling, fascinating, wonderful experience when the light goes on for somebody else, when they have that experience of, wow, this is better. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, I'm fulfilled. I'm not experiencing cravings or whatever it was. Yes, I can be a raw fooder. And it's why I'm doing the Let's Cook Raw program every Sunday for a year and a half, and helping people in their rawsome year and watching them go through 26 weeks to the point where now they're starting to go, wow, I've already done 26 weeks. I'm going to easily make it through a year. This is getting easier and easier. It's no longer like, can I figure this out? So in a sense, I do it for my own personal satisfaction, that I love the feeling of being able to help others. As there's an old saying, that the best gift in the world is giving a gift that's received well. And so when you receive well, that's what the giver really feels the most. So the best gifts are receiving, and the best receiving is to give. So I love being able to help people. I have a strong desire to bring the truth to people. I have a disdain for marketing that goes a long way back in my life. So I just find it great fun. Not only that, but there's a certain amount of fun in breaking preconceived notions. And there's so many people who have preconceived notions that have told me, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. Whether it's a backflip or swimming or eating raw food or, succeeding without ever having a problem in the least of, oh, I could never eat like you. The number of people, it's one of those, I'd be a rich man if I had a pound for every person who said I could never do that, and then they find out that they most certainly can, or that they could never make a satisfying salad dressing or whatever it was. And it's just, they don't know how yet. And once you show them how, I kind of love being the only one, Ronnie.
Yeah. So I've just been joined by a number of guests. We've got a little meetup
on. How much fun. Hello.
This is Doug is one of our speakers at the festival.
Yeah, I've been trying to follow your 60-10-10 diet.
Excellent, excellent. So Marion will be there. Matthew's here somewhere.
Oh, great, Matthew and all the ladies. You, Ronnie and Matthew and all the ladies.
There's some more.
Have fun. You're gonna have fun. Well, I love being the only one that does what I do, and I remember back in. I'll close with this because I see you got things to do, but it's a story kind of day. Back in the 80s, way back when, people used to ask me, what do I do? You know, and I'd say, well, I'm a life coach. Well, nobody knew what that was. There was no such thing as a life coach. And, but then eventually somebody got the idea to start selling certificates to people to become life coaches. You know, so I can no longer say that I'm a life coach because the people who are life coaches do something quite different from what I do. And so now when people ask me what do, I say I'm a personal recoverer.
Sorry, bear with me.
So, and again, there's nobody doing that, right? But you've heard of a personal trainer, and there's lots of personal trainers, but there aren't any personal recoverers except me. I teach people how to recover, and the way you recover is by letting your lifestyle support your ability to recover from your everyday. And I love being the only one doing things. I love being the only one who's figured it out or had the staying power or whatever it might be.
Do you actually prefer that to like when you were say Woodstock and there's 20 other people saying the same thing? Is that like less comfortable for you? Like you'd rather be the odd one out? Honestly, I almost felt like you'd rather have been the odd one out in a strange way.
My mom asked me one time if I get tired of being a leader, and I go, actually, no, I can't do it any other way. My mind is switched on. I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together in such a way. I'm climbing up the stairs, or however you want to, you know, envision it in your mind. But leaders lead from the front. Roger Waters did a song about the generals who were running a war from the safety of 5,000 miles away. You know, the bravery of being 5,000 miles away from the front. To me, leaders lead from the front. So I'd rather lead. And I don't really care if anybody follows or not. I'm going to lead. It turns out that, hey, if I'm wrong about stuff, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But usually, it's not that usually I'm right. I won't say that. I'll say that usually before I tell anybody about it, I've made my mistakes and I figured it out before I start talking about it. So if I'm going to actually come into the public and state an opinion or state a view or state a fact or state a position of any kind, it's because I've already figured that out. I'm not going to, it struck me most when I started working with professional athletes that I'm telling them things that are counter to what their other coaches are telling them. And if they follow my advice and it fails, then it could cost them a career. It could cost them millions of dollars. It could cost horrible, horrible things. But if it works, then, you know, it's more wonderful than ever. I am perfectly comfortable being the odd man out. Yes, I'm perfectly comfortable being the odd man out.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Doug. And Doug will be at the UK Fruitfest this year. And tonight the prices will rise. So please get in touch with us. We've got some spaces left. We will have a good group this year. Looking forward to it. Go to fruitfest.co.uk/registration for more information. Feel free to get in touch with us. And I'm going to have to leave now. We've got a group going on here. We've got some raw vegans and people interested in that getting together to have some fruit together today, and we're waiting on some more people turning up. So thank you everyone for joining, and this whole recording will go up very soon, so I'll send you all a message about that, and we will see you hopefully at the festival. Yeah, the winner of the competition was announced. It was Lorena, so I will get in touch with her. Oh no. Well, thank you everyone, and I guess we'll see somebody at the festival. Join us for Fruity Fridays if you want another experience like this next Friday, and get in touch with us, info@fruitfest.co.uk for some more information. Doug, do you want to finish off with anything?
I'd like to answer Craig's question. Just yes, Craig, I eat breadfruit. There are different types of breadfruit. Some are edible and some are not so much. One type that's not so edible is just used for the seeds, which are then boiled. I don't do that. They're boiled kind of like peanuts. But there's another kind of a breadfruit that is quite edible raw, as long as it's ripe enough to be enjoyable.
Do you want to stay on for a little bit and answer some questions if people have?
I'm happy to do that. I was going to ask you if it's okay, but
okay. Yeah,
I'm happy to do it.
I'll just we'll just meet ourselves and
there you go. Right. I'll stay on for a little bit and take questions if people have them.
So everyone, if you want to put questions down below for Doug, and yeah, so Marion here's asking about Candida. Doug, do you have what's your opinion on people being diagnosed with Candida issues? How did they sort that out? And
well, it's a fascinating world, Candida, because so many things are blamed. Oh, I can't wear that. That's confusing. So it's good for reading, but not for looking. So many, Candida is blamed for so many things. I mean, I've had people come to me and tell me, I've got fungus under my nails, it's Candida. Or I've got this, it's Candida. I've got heart problems, it's Candida. I've got skin problems. And I have a hard time imagining Candida being the cause of all those things. Typically what happens when we have many things is that there's usually one thing causing them all. And so for instance, I will answer the question, but for instance, I had a man come to me one time on 18 different medications. And for the first week, I put him on a program that was exceptionally simple. His wife had been a client of mine some years prior, so she knew the program inside out. And I kind of explained to her what to do. He said he was willing because he didn't even know who he was anymore. He said, I can't recognize myself amongst these 18 meds. And so he said that he'd try anything. And so she put him on a very simple version of 80-10-10 for a week. And he came back a week later and he was off all 18 meds quite successfully. And the doctor supported that. And he was having none of the symptoms for which any of the meds had been given. So, I mean, he was doing just fine. That took a week. That's pretty common. 24 to 48 hours is pretty common with Candida. I have seen Candida take longer to clear. Some really low vitality, heavily depleted people with serious issues. It can take a bit longer, but even then, it's not the years and years of suffering with Candida trying to get rid of it. The people who've told me they've had it for 2 years, they've been on the Candida program for 2 years, and I'm going, you should have gone on the anti-Candida program because this is a microbe that has a very short lifespan. I don't know the lifespan of a Candida fungus, but it's not very long, although fungi are tougher than a lot of other things in the body. The lifespan just isn't that long, so you should be able to clear fairly quickly. Is it possible to recause it again and again? Yeah, sure. It's possible to recause it again and again. But if you're doing the right things and you're doing them in the right way, this is a condition that typically clears up very quickly. In terms of specifics for individuals, my medical training makes it illegal. We can decide whether it's immoral, but certainly makes it illegal for me to diagnose or prescribe without taking a history and doing the appropriate exam. So I wouldn't try to do that online. Just what do I know about Candida? But in general, I learned about Candida sort of through a back door, right? Because I was helping people with other problems who then said, to me and said, oh, by the way, my candida went away when I followed your program for heart disease, or my candida went away when I followed your protocol for diabetes. And I go, and I started seeing it happen again and again, you know, or my low back problems went away when I just went vegan. And it was just kind of fascinating. So we'll see certain relationships happen, and candida certainly was one of them. So I didn't start out with like a wealth of training in candida. Hey, let's deal with candida. It sort of happened as an aside until candida started being the scapegoat. You know, you always got to blame somebody for something, right? And the Chinese flu, it's the Hong Kong flu, it's the swine flu, it's the bird flu. So in this case, it was, it's candida. If I don't know what's causing your symptoms, then it's probably candida. I don't think that was really true. I don't think it was candida. It was probably something you were doing. And in my view of the world, the way I deal with health is we don't treat symptoms ever for anything. What we do is we stop causing the symptoms. So usually through taking a history and appropriate tests if they're necessary, we can look at the lifestyle, again, personal recovery, teach people how to stop causing the things that result in symptoms. You have to understand symptoms are generated by the body. It's kind of like having a dog crying at the back door to go out. And then eventually the dog poops right by the door inside the house. And you go, oh, well, this is bad. The dog poops inside the house. Well, yes, well, the cause of that problem was you need to go out and walk your dog. It wasn't that the dog was bad or did anything particularly wrong. I mean, eventually it's got to go. And the same way with body generates symptoms when it's not getting what it needs, or when it is getting something it doesn't need. This is why I say when we do the right things in the right way, we avoid those things that are harmful. Basically, we're avoiding the things that we have to recover from in lifestyle, unless there are things such as physical exertions for which the body adapts and becomes better at handling those physical exertions. And so if we're trying to get into better shape physically, you know, you might push yourself for strength or cardio or endurance or whatever. And yes, you have to recover from that. But we don't want to, but one of the ways we recover is with our food. So if we're eating food from which we need to recover, we're sort of getting in our own way. Low-fat raw vegan is typically the answer to candida, is the short answer to that question. Low-fat raw vegan works every time.
Oh, well, excellent. Excellent. Okay, well, I think we might leave for now.
And the answer, yes, I do have 80-10-10 books in England.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Doug. And I think we'll bring it to an end there.
Folks, enjoy great health. I encourage all of you to up your health, to raise your bar, to raise your standards, to have higher expectations, to take better care of yourself, to take the absolute best care of yourself, especially when times are easy. Like now, it's summer and the fruit is phenomenal. Okay, like right now is a great time to take exquisite care of yourself. And then if you really want to improve your program between now and a year from now, take exquisite care of yourself on those challenging days and those challenging times, and truly, truly up your health, each and every one of you. You too, Ronnie, up yours too, as the expression goes. And
right, I got it.
Up your health, everybody. Have a ton of fun being healthy, because healthy is so much more fun than being sick. It's worth any price. In this case, being healthy is not only the prize, but taking great care of yourself is also a prize. It's just wonderful fun. It tastes good. It feels good. It's, you know, all of the things that are required for great health are pleasurable experiences. So go have some pleasurable experiences and up your health.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we will see you hopefully at the festival or some other time. UK Fruitfest is happening this year from the 29th of July to the 6th of August, all going well. and you can register at fruitfest.co.uk/registration. Send us a message if you want any more information on it, and we'll see you there. Thank you very much, everyone.
See you in a few weeks.
Thank you so much from USA. Really helped. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.